New York wants you to think the only way in is a $900,000 shoebox with a view of someone else's fire escape. That's the myth. The part they don't advertise is that, quietly, awkwardly, and with the energy of someone clearing out a garage, parts of New York are basically begging humans to show up. I'm talking about land so cheap it feels like a clerical error. Towns where the biggest barrier to homeownership isn't money, it's whether you can emotionally handle silence, snow, and a Dollar General that closes early. These places don't trend, they don't sparkle, and they definitely don't want influencers. But they will hand you dirt, incentives, and please stay energy if you're willing to exist there. This isn't about dreams, this is about loopholes, and New York has more of them than people realize. When people say New York, they mean Manhattan rent, Brooklyn attitude, and upstate as a vague concept you drive through on the way to somewhere else. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Large chunks of this state are in population decline panic mode. Jobs left, kids left, tax bases ghosted, and now entire towns are sitting there like, so, anyone? This list exists because no one tells you that New York doesn't just lose people, it tries to win them back with land programs, dirt cheap lots, renovation grants, and incentives that sound fake until you read the fine print. Some of these places are gorgeous, some are cold, some feel like time stopped in 1987 and never apologized. You'll hear about free land, $1 homes, and towns that will absolutely give you a side-eye test before approving you. Like the video if you enjoy financial chaos with a property deed attached. Subscribe if Zillow listings make you emotionally unstable. And let's start with place Hashon, because this gets weird fast. 1. Buffalo. Buffalo is the kind of city that sounds like it should be charging you emotional rent just to say its name. Snow. Rust Belt trauma, a football team that tests your faith annually. And yet Buffalo has quietly become New York's most aggressive, please move here, city without ever admitting that's what it's doing. Here's the price shock. Buffalo has literally sold houses for $1. Not a metaphor, not a starting bid. A single George Washington gets you a deed. Less than a parking ticket in Manhattan. Less than a Netflix password you Venmo your cousin for and resent every month. Of course, there's a catch, and Buffalo doesn't hide it. They just slide it across the table and stare at you until you blink. Quick grounding. Buffalo sits in western New York near Lake Erie, population just under 300,000, built on shipping, steel, manufacturing, and the kind of blue-collar pride that refuses to die quietly. When those industries collapsed, people left in waves. Entire blocks emptied. The city didn't crumble, it paused. And now it's rebooting. Why is it cheap? Because Buffalo has more houses than humans and more snow than patience. The $1 homes come with renovation requirements. You don't get to flip it, Airbnb it, or abandon it. You have to live there, fix it, commit. Buffalo isn't giving you land, it's testing whether you're serious. Living here feels like economic whiplash. One minute you're walking past boarded-up Victorians that look haunted by unpaid utility bills. The next, you're in a fully restored neighborhood with coffee shops, breweries, and people who casually say things like, "Yeah, I bought in 2016," with the smugness of crypto survivors. The winters are not a joke. The wind off Lake Erie doesn't blow, it files a complaint against your face. Snowstorms arrive sideways. Grocery stores become community bonding events. You will own boots. Several pairs. But here's the weird part. Buffalo people don't complain. They adapt. They shovel together. They talk to strangers. It's unsettling in a charming way. Infrastructure? Solid. Healthcare? Surprisingly strong. Shopping? You'll drive, but you'll survive. Pace of life? Slow enough to breathe, fast enough to feel alive. Buffalo isn't handing out free land because it's desperate. It's doing it because it knows something most cities forgot. Stability beats hype. And if you can handle snow, commitment, and a city that demands effort before affection, Buffalo might quietly change your entire financial trajectory. 2. Jamestown. Jamestown feels like the kind of place America forgot to officially break up with. No announcement, no closure, just fewer people showing up to work one day and everyone collectively pretending that was fine. And that quiet disappearance? That's exactly why Jamestown is now borderline throwing property at you like it owes you money. Here's the price shock. Vacant lots for a few $1,000s, houses priced like used appliances, and city-backed programs designed to get structures back on the tax rolls instead of watching them slowly return to nature. Not free land in the Instagram sense, but so cheap it messes with your sense of reality. Cheap. The kind of cheap where you triple-check Zillow because it feels illegal. Quick grounding. Jamestown sits in southwestern New York, near the Pennsylvania border. Population hovering around 28,000 and still slowly shrinking. Historically, it ran on furniture manufacturing, metalworks, and factory jobs that vanished with ruthless efficiency. When the work left, people followed. What stayed behind was infrastructure built for twice the population: roads, utilities, schools, all awkwardly waiting for humans. Why is it cheap? Because Jamestown has an inventory problem. Too many homes, too few buyers, and a city government that's tired of mowing grass around empty structures like it's a personality trait. Instead of denial, Jamestown leaned into aggressive revitalization, land banks, and rehab incentives. Translation: if you're willing to fix something, they're willing to help. Living here feels like stepping into a paused movie. Streets are quiet, neighbors notice you. If you park weird, someone will absolutely remember your car. Winters are long, gray, and emotionally humbling. Snow doesn't scream here, it just accumulates judgmentally. Summers, though? Shockingly good. Green, calm, lake air drifting in like it's apologizing for February. Wildlife exists on casual threat mode. Deer wander through neighborhoods like they pay rent. Birds are loud. Bugs are seasonal but manageable. Shopping is basic: Walmart, local stores, nothing fancy. If you crave luxury retail, Jamestown will laugh at you gently and point south. But here's the charm. Jamestown isn't pretending to be something else. No rebrand, no fake art district banners. It's honest, affordable, and weirdly grounding. People wave. Conversations happen. Time slows down whether you consent or not. Jamestown isn't handing out land because it's broken. It's doing it because it's pragmatic. The city knows exactly what it is and exactly what it needs. And if you're the type who sees opportunity where others see inconvenience, Jamestown quietly becomes less of a gamble and more of a loophole hiding in plain sight. 3. Utica. Utica is what happens when a city survives so many economic plot twists that it just stops pretending it's embarrassed. No rebrand, no glossy slogan. Just a quiet shrug and a pile of land deals that make you feel like you accidentally wandered into a clearance aisle meant for insiders only. Here's the price shock. Houses in Utica routinely sell for 5 figures. Not starting at "not needs a miracle," just straight-up homes cheaper than a year of rent in Brooklyn. Vacant lots? Dirt cheap. Sometimes practically free once incentives, grants, or redevelopment programs stack together. Utica doesn't shout about it, it just quietly lowers the price until someone finally says yes. Quick grounding. Utica sits in central New York's Mohawk Valley, population around 65,000 and slowly stabilizing after decades of decline. It used to thrive on textiles, machinery, and manufacturing. Then globalization showed up like an uninvited guest and cleared the room. People left, buildings stayed, and now the city is sitting on more infrastructure than bodies. Why is it cheap? Because Utica has inventory trauma. Too many houses, too many old structures, too many neighborhoods built for a population that no longer exists at full strength. The city would rather see lights on than plywood nailed up. So they incentivize ownership, rehab, and long-term residency. Not speculation, not flipping, not vibes-based investing. Living here feels like economic contrast therapy. One block looks frozen in time. The next has immigrant-owned restaurants, bakeries, and grocery stores that slap way harder than they have any right to. Utica quietly became one of the most diverse small cities in New York, which gives it this unexpected cultural depth hiding under a very "don't judge me yet" exterior. Weather? You already know. Winters are cold, gray, and committed. Snow shows up early and stays late like it forgot to pack. The wind doesn't scream, it just drains your optimism slowly. Summers redeem everything: green valleys, mild heat, and nights quiet enough to hear yourself think. Infrastructure is solid. Healthcare exists, roads function, shopping is practical, not glamorous. You'll drive, you'll plan ahead. Amazon Prime becomes a lifestyle choice. Wildlife stays mostly respectful: deer, birds, and the occasional raccoon doing side quests. Utica's biggest quirk is honesty. It doesn't try to charm you immediately. It makes you earn affection. People notice effort. Fix a house and the neighborhood warms up. Ignore it and the city stares back. Utica isn't handing out land because it's failing. It's doing it because it's recalibrating. And if you can handle a city that trades hype for math and trendiness for ownership, Utica quietly offers one of the cleanest loopholes left in New York real estate. 4. Elmira. Elmira is what happens when a town realizes no one is coming to save it and calmly decides to save itself instead, with land deals so quiet they feel like a clerical secret you weren't supposed to overhear. Here's the price shock. Elmira doesn't scream free land, it whispers incentives. Vacant lots sold for next to nothing. Houses priced lower than a used Honda with a suspicious check engine light. Local programs that reduce purchase prices, waive fees, or bundle rehab support just to get bodies back into neighborhoods that are tired of being empty. It's not flashy, it's practical, and that's what makes it dangerous. Quick grounding. Elmira sits in the southern tier of New York near the Pennsylvania border. Population around 26,000 and shrinking slowly but stubbornly. It used to run on manufacturing, railroads, and industry that packed up decades ago. When the jobs left, the city didn't implode. It just exhaled and got very quiet. Why is it cheap? Because Elmira has too much house for too few people and zero interest in pretending otherwise. The city would rather sell land cheap than pay to demolish it. They want homeowners, not speculators. Live there, fix it, pay taxes, exist. That's the entire deal. Living here feels like controlled stillness. Streets are calm. The loudest sound some days is a lawnmower or someone's dog living its best life. Winters are real, not dramatic buffalo chaos, but steady, gray. Why is the sky always like this? Cold. Snow shows up politely and refuses to leave. Summers, though, flip the script. Green hills, river air, and evenings that feel slower in a way your nervous system didn't know it needed. Infrastructure is better than you'd expect. Hospitals, colleges nearby, functioning roads. Shopping is adequate but humble. If you want Whole Foods energy, Elmira will give you Wegmans energy and expect gratitude. Wildlife exists but doesn't terrorize you. Deer, birds, occasional raccoon, committing petty crimes. The quirks? Elmira remembers everything. This is not a town where you blend in forever. Neighbors notice. Conversations stick. If you improve a house, people will comment. If you don't, they'll still comment, just less kindly. Elmira isn't handing out land because it's desperate. It's doing it because it understands math. Empty lots cost money. Residents generate stability. And if you're okay trading nightlife for ownership and hype for leverage, Elmira quietly offers something New York rarely does anymore. A way in that doesn't financially body slam you on arrival. 5. Niagara Falls. Niagara Falls is proof that having one of the most famous natural wonders on Earth does not automatically make your life expensive or even particularly functional. Tourists come, cameras flash, honeymoons happen, and then everyone leaves, blissfully unaware that just a few blocks away, entire neighborhoods are sitting there like, cool, so are you staying or just taking pictures? Here's the price shock. Houses here regularly sell for under $70,000, sometimes far less. Vacant lots move for prices that feel like a typo. Through land banks and redevelopment programs, properties can get so cheap they functionally become conditional free land, meaning the city just wants someone, anyone, to rehab it and stop the decay. Niagara Falls isn't selling homes. It's offloading responsibility. Quick grounding. Niagara Falls sits on New York's western edge. Population around 48,000 and shrinking despite the tourism engine roaring a mile away. The city was built on hydroelectric power, industry, and manufacturing that evaporated decades ago. Tourism stayed. Residents didn't. What you're left with is a strange split personality, world-famous scenery glued to deeply under-occupied neighborhoods. Why is it cheap? Because tourism money doesn't circulate the way people think it does. Hotels make money. Attractions make money. Neighborhoods? Not so much. Whole sections of the city emptied out, leaving behind solid housing stock with no buyers. The city's solution wasn't denial, it was land banks, incentives, and a very blunt message. If you live here and fix it, we'll work with you. Living here feels surreal. You can drive past boarded-up houses, turn a corner, and suddenly be near crowds, speaking 7 languages, taking selfies with a waterfall that sounds like God left the faucet on. The contrast is jarring. Winters are cold and wet, with lake-effect snow that shows up uninvited and overstays. Summers are actually pleasant, green, breezy, and weirdly calm once the tourists retreat to their hotels. Infrastructure is hit or miss. Roads vary by block. Utilities exist but show their age. Shopping is functional, not inspiring. You'll drive to neighboring towns for anything fancy. Wildlife is casual but bold. Raccoons here have confidence issues, and birds are loud like they pay taxes. The real quirk? Niagara Falls doesn't care if you're impressed. It's not trying to charm you. It's trying to survive neighborhoods, not sell postcards. Fix a house and people notice. Stay long enough and the city warms up. Leave it neglected and the city absolutely remembers. Niagara Falls isn't handing out land because it's dying. It's doing it because it's compartmentalized. The spectacle is handled. The neighborhoods need humans. And if you can live with contrast, beauty next to neglect, fame next to obscurity, this place quietly offers one of the strangest, cheapest footholds left in New York. 6. Syracuse. Syracuse is the city that sounds like it should be charging tuition just to exist, and somehow ends up offering you land deals that feel like a dare. Not a friendly invite. A challenge. Like, you sure you want this? Because we're about to find out. Here's the price shock. Syracuse has run $1 home programs, ultra-cheap land bank properties, and rehab-focused deals that make ownership cheaper than renting a studio with unresolved emotional damage. We're talking houses priced so low, you assume there's a ghost clause in the contract. Sometimes there is. Mostly it's just deferred maintenance in a city that wants stability more than vibes. Quick grounding. Syracuse sits in central New York, population around 150,000, and slowly shrinking but stubbornly relevant. It used to be a manufacturing and industrial hub, then watched those jobs disappear like everyone else upstate. What stayed behind was a dense city grid, aging housing stock, and infrastructure built for a much bigger moment. Why is it cheap? Because Syracuse has a surplus problem. Too many houses, too many vacant lots, too many neighborhoods hollowed out by decades of job loss and suburban flight. The city decided early that empty buildings are more dangerous than cheap ownership. So instead of waiting for some magical comeback, they lowered the barrier and dared people to commit. Living here feels like economic whiplash on a loop. One block is rough, the next is students, families, coffee shops, and people jogging like nothing's wrong. Syracuse is a patchwork city, not collapsing, not thriving, just aggressively uneven. Winters are brutal. No poetry here. Snow doesn't fall, it accumulates with intent. The sky stays gray long enough to test your serotonin levels. But summers? Shockingly solid. Green, warm, festivals everywhere, and nights that make you forgive January just a little. Infrastructure is real city level. Hospitals, universities, highways, public transit that exists and occasionally works. Shopping is fine. You won't starve, you won't flex either. Wildlife stays urban, squirrels with attitude, birds with opinions, the occasional raccoon treating trash cans like a career. The biggest quirk is Syracuse's personality split. Part college town, part working class city, part we've seen worse. Neighbors clock effort. Fix your place and the block responds. Ignore it and the city quietly moves on without you. Syracuse isn't handing out land because it's desperate. It's doing it because it understands gravity. Empty neighborhoods collapse faster than cheap ones. And if you're willing to trade prestige for ownership and winters for leverage, Syracuse offers one of the most aggressive, prove-it entry points left in New York real estate. 7. Binghamton. Binghamton is the city equivalent of someone who used to be very important, remembers it vividly, and now just wants you to stop asking questions and move in already. It doesn't pitch itself. It doesn't beg. It just quietly lowers the price until the math becomes offensive to ignore. Here's the price shock. 5-figure houses, vacant lots priced like a weekend getaway, and land bank programs that all but dare you to take responsibility. In some cases, the land is so cheap it's functionally free once you stack incentives, fee waivers, and rehab assistance. Binghamton isn't selling dreams, it's unloading inventory and hoping you're emotionally stable enough to handle it. Quick grounding. Binghamton sits in New York's southern tier where the Susquehanna and Chenango rivers meet. Population around 45,000 and still drifting downward. It was once an industrial heavyweight. IBM, manufacturing, defense work, the whole mid-century glow-up. Then those jobs left, and the city was left holding the infrastructure bill for a crowd that never came back. Why is it cheap? Because Binghamton built for permanence and got abandonment instead. Too many houses, too many aging neighborhoods, too much tax burden chasing too few residents. The city decided that empty buildings rot faster than cheap ownership, so it leaned into land banks, redevelopment programs, and a very blunt approach. If you live here and fix it, we're on your side. Living here feels like quiet persistence. Streets are calm. Hills roll in every direction like the city is trying to hide inside its own geography. Winters are long, gray, and spiritually humbling. Snow doesn't attack. It just settles in and waits for you to accept it. Summers flip the mood entirely. Green everywhere. River air. Actual peace. Infrastructure exists but shows its age. Hospitals, colleges nearby, highways that work, neighborhoods that vary wildly block by block. Shopping is practical. You'll drive, you'll plan. Amazon becomes your emotional support system. Wildlife is polite but present, deer, birds, and raccoons that clearly know the schedule. The quirk? Binghamton remembers what it used to be. There's pride under the rust. People notice effort. Fixing a house isn't just personal, it's civic. Stay long enough and you'll feel the shift from outsider to asset. Binghamton isn't handing out land because it's hopeless. It's doing it because it's pragmatic. The city knows revival doesn't come from hype, it comes from ownership, patience, and people willing to trade trendiness for leverage.